I stumbled out of the bar, my head spinning, my vision blurred. The world around me was a distorted mess of neon lights and muffled voices. I fumbled for my phone, barely managing to swipe through the app to call a cab. My landlord had just raised the rent again. My boss was riding my ass at work, and now these goddamn restaurants were serving drinks with cardboard straws. Cardboard. Might as well serve drinks in a damn shoe. The cab pulled up, and I threw myself into the back seat. The driver, some quiet, middle-aged guy, didn't say a word. Good. The last thing I needed was some chatty Cathy asking about my night. I stared out the window, trying to keep my head from spinning. "Where to?" he finally asked. "Just drive, you worthless sack of crap," I slurred. "I'll tell you where to go." He didn't respond, just started driving. Perfect. I leaned back and let the rant begin. "You know what pisses me off?" I started, not really caring if he was listening. "These cardboard straws. You try to take a sip and they just fall apart. What kind of idiot thought that was a good idea? I bet it was some tree-hugging hipster who thinks saving the whales is more important than a good drink." The driver didn't say anything, just kept driving. I could see his eyes in the rearview mirror, though. He was listening. "And don't get me started on the junkies," I continued. "Can't even take a piss in peace anymore without some needle-happy freak wanting to use my nutsack as a dartboard. What is this world coming to?" I glanced at the driver again. Still nothing. I swear, if I had $1 for every time some loser came up to me asking for change, I'd be rich. But no, I gotta work my ass off selling cars to boring-ass bitches who just want to hear the sales pitch but never buy anything. Wasting my time. But I always got the last laugh, you know? When they finally bought a car, I'd switch it out with an identical wreck from an accident. They'd never know until it was too late. I laughed, a deep, drunken cackle that echoed in the car. The driver glanced at me in the mirror again. His eyes narrowed slightly. Still no response, though. "Hey, you deaf or something?" I snapped. "I'm talking to you, you miserable piece of crap." Nothing, just kept driving. I felt a surge of anger. Who did this guy think he was? Ignoring me? I leaned forward, close enough to see the beads of sweat on his forehead. "You're a loser, you know that?" I hissed. "Driving drunks around all night, listening to their problems. Bet you wish you had a real job, huh?" The driver finally spoke. "Just tell me where to go." "Go to hell," I spat. "Just keep driving. I'll tell you when to stop." The rest of the ride was a blur of angry rants and insults. I didn't even remember what I said half the time. I just knew I was pissed off, and this guy was the perfect target. When we finally stopped, I barely noticed where we were. I opened the door and promptly threw up on the sidewalk. "There's your tip," I said with a sneer. "Enjoy." As I stumbled out of the cab, I realized something was wrong. This wasn't my house. I turned to yell at the driver, but he was already gone. Before I could react, rough hands grabbed me and dragged me into a building. I tried to fight, but I was too drunk to put up much of a struggle. I was thrown into a room with a bunch of other drunks. The place reeked of alcohol and desperation. The door slammed shut behind me, and I heard the lock click. "Great, just great." "Welcome to the party," one of the drunks said with a laugh. "Hope you like it here, 'cause we're not getting out." I looked around, taking in the scene. The room was dimly lit, filled with the stench of sweat and booze. The other drunks were a sorry bunch, slumped against the walls or sprawled on the floor. I didn't care. I just laughed. "Is this supposed to scare me?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I've seen worse." One of the drunks, a big guy with a shaved head, got up and walked over to me. "You think you're tough, huh?" I laughed again. "Tougher than you, that's for sure." He swung at me, but I dodged. They call it luck of the Irish. I call it all in a day's work. I countered with a straight right to the face. He went down hard, and I stood over him, grinning. "Still thinking in there?" I taunted. The other drunks just watched, too beaten down to react. I found a corner and sat down, laughing to myself. You know, this reminds me of the time I sold a car to this rich broad. She thought she was so smart, trying to haggle with me. But I had the last laugh. I used a bottle of nail paint, the same kind you can get at the dollar store, and I painted the words "limited edition" on the rear bumper next to the model. I was able to get an extra $5,000. I chuckled, shaking my head at the memory. The other drunks stared at me, probably wondering if I was insane. Maybe I was. Who cared? The room was starting to spin. some cloaked figure came in and started rambling about some ceremony. He sounded like my first, or was it third wife, demanding I come to dinner. I didn't want to hear any of that. If I did, I'd get married. I yelled at him to come back with some schnapps and a chaser. He's got a room of herding units here. The guy in the cloak just looked at me. What was this pervert up to? I looked at him and sized him up. I wouldn't sell you a car, and I'm a used car salesman. By the way, what kind of a bar you're running here, Alfalfa? I slurred. The cloaked figure turned around and left. The doors were these huge old-timey types, like what you'd see in that hairy kid that smokes pot. Or was it the Potter kid who's hairy? I don't know, I need a drink. Hey, I need a drink, I shouted. Someone get me a damn drink. After a while, one of the guys brought me a bottle of something. I didn't care what it was. I took a swig and felt the burn all the way down. Perfect. Now this is more like it, I said, grinning. You know, I used to be an altar boy. Only did it because they gave me a 40-ouncer for hauling the dead to the ditch. Good times. I took another swig and started laughing again. And you know what? I don't care about any of this. You think locking me up with a bunch of drunks is going to scare me? I've been through worse. The door opened and a couple of guys came in. They didn't look like bouncers, because bouncers are more interested in kicking us out than keeping us in. I just laughed and stood up, swaying a little but ready for a fight. What, you guys want to go too? I said, grinning like a madman. They came at me, but I was faster. I ducked under a punch and landed a fluffle of bunnies of my own, right in the guy's kisser. He doubled over, not only with a broken jaw, but a busted dental plan, and I kicked him in the head for good measure because I care. The other guy hesitated, then backed off. First smart thing I've seen all night. That's what I thought, I said, wiping my mouth. You couldn't even sell an extended warranty to a college student. I staggered around the room, looking for more booze. I found a bottle and took another swig, feeling the warmth spread through me. I didn't care about anything anymore. Not the room, not the drunks, not the fights. I was in my element. The other drunks were trying to stop me, but from what? Themselves? As if they weren't embarrassed enough. I wish I cared, but that would have required work. And as I told the cops when they wanted to arrest me the other day, I'm on vacation. The cloak guy, what is he? Sherlock? He came in, said some things, how I offended their order. I looked around for menus. I didn't see anything to order. I mouthed off a bit, complaining over their service and that I want to see the manager. When the cloak guy said he was the master of this place, I laughed and said, Master? What's your last name? Bates. I finally pulled off the impossible, made this sorry crew of drunks laugh. Heck, I laughed too, because I always laugh at my own jokes. Eventually, they gave up trying to scare me. They must have realized I was too far gone to care. They even gave me more booze, thinking it would shut me up. It didn't, just made me angrier. I found some weird altar in one corner, some kind of creepy setup with candles and weird symbols. I laughed and peed in the cup they had there, saying, I was only an altar boy, 'cause I got booze for hauling the dead. Here's to your creepy altar. The other drunks watched, too shocked to react. I just kept laughing. Eventually, they let me go. More to the point, I was thrown out. I was too annoying, too offensive, too much trouble. I stumbled out into the night, laughing to myself. I didn't know where I was, but I didn't care. I just kept walking until I found a house. I banged on the door, and a woman with hair curlers answered, looking startled. I barged in without a word, heading straight for the living room. I need something to take the edge off, I said, collapsing onto the couch. Make me a scotch on the rocks. With a straw. For those wondering why you need to drink liquor with a straw, then you've never really done real drinking in your damned life. Her husband came storming down the stairs, looking ready to throw me out. I stood up, swaying slightly, and faced him. You want to go? I said, grinning. Come on, let's see what you got. He lunged at me, but I was ready. I let him land the punch right in my kisser. He broke in his fist as a result and fell to the shag carpet in pain. See, I knew something he didn't. I was simply too damn drunk to feel a damned thing. They don't call it Dutch courage for nothing. The wife, seeing all this, hurried to make me a drink. Smart woman. She handed me the scotch and I took a sip, savoring the taste. I noticed the straw she put in the glass. Plastic straw. A real damn plastic straw. A miracle. Now that's service, I said with a grin. By the way, that car you have in your driveway looks like an end-of-lifer. Want me to hook you up with some new wheels? She just stared at me, too stunned to respond. I laughed again, leaning back on the couch. The husband, groaning in pain on the floor. You're a car salesman? She suddenly asked. Best one in the tri-state, I quipped. It looks like she was doing some thinking. Then she asked me the question that actually made me put my drink down and give her my full and undivided attention. Do you offer an extended warranty? She asked. I leaned forward with the sincerity that only a used car salesman can provide. Of course we do.